I want to talk a little bit about palladium, and actually the palladium investor is actually a very rare breed. Now, very few people are actually investing in palladium. You talk about silver investors being, far and few between. There's a hell of a lot more people even investing in gold, and actually the people who invest in gold are very infinitesimal compared to the number of people who invest in bonds and stocks and other equities. Now, in the case of palladium, it's a very rare breed, but I'm going to state this, that I think palladium is going to be very close to one of the best all-time investments going. The same line that silver people have been putting out for a long time. Not that I don't think silver is going to do fine, but I think at one point in time, palladium is actually going to blow the doors off of silver, believe it or not. The reason I'm saying this is because there's only two places in the world it comes from. It's like the same type of deal with platinum. Platinum comes from South Africa and Russia. A little bit more from South Africa than Russia, but between those two countries, got about 80% of the supply comes from those two countries. In the case of palladium, same thing. It comes from Russia and South Africa. A little bit more than 80% of the world's supply comes from those two places. In the case of Russia, it might be a little over 40%. In the case of South Africa, a little bit less than 40%. But the thing is, any kind of supply interruption will drive the price through the roof. Now, the speculation is now, recently, because there was all these terrible problems with the South Africans striking, the miners striking, again, the palladium and platinum mines. It's the platinum group mine, so actually there's palladium produced there. They were killed in cold blood by the authorities with machine guns, and now they're vowing to actually shut down production of the platinum group metals in South Africa and gold. So expect platinum, palladium, and gold to go up a lot. But I also have to point out something, that with palladium, the price being at $700 roughly, and platinum being at $1,600, those two metals should be about equal. That they should be about equal. Long term, platinum and palladium are going to be roughly equal. The only reason the palladium prices were so far depressed was because of all the excess Russian stockpiles that were piled up from the Norilsk mine in Siberia for all these decades. There's been rumors that the stockpiles are basically depleted. I know those are a bunch of BS stories the Russians put out to play with the markets, but at one point in time, that is going to be the case. Now he's just throwing this little twist with palladium. I mean, with the South African strikes. Just look what happened back in 2001 when they thought there was Russia was going to be taken off a line with palladium. It went right through the roof. That's what may happen with palladium and platinum. It may go through the roof. Now, sometimes fundamentals just don't mean anything, because I don't know what the hell the deal is. I know a lot of people talk about the paper markets, the electronic markets, that things are rigged. They move the price this way, they move the price that way. I think that's somewhat true on a short-term basis. But sometimes I just realize that a lot of investors will not be attracted to a certain investment if they feel that it's unsafe or it's not something traditional. And palladium is one of those deals. It's like, you can't get a lot of people to invest even in silver. You're not going to get a lot of people to invest in palladium. So this metal can actually, and that's what's actually driving the price, the spot price, is by what people are doing on Wall Street. You got a price recognition tool out there. So, but we shall see. I do expect that there's going to be this price explosion in the metal, and I'm hoping that I catch it at the right time, because I will take fiat money for it. But I think, in my personal plan, is I will not sell any palladium unless it goes right through the freaking roof. I mean, if I have gains where it's several times over again, I might sell some. But I think where it's going to go to, palladium, gold may go to, say, $5,000 to $8,000 an ounce. Palladium is going to be worth more than gold. It's probably going to go between $7,000 to $10,000 an ounce. Crazy, right? Sounds crazy? It's not that crazy. And I've been very critical of silver bloggers making some pie in the sky predictions. I don't think that's going to be a pie in the sky prediction with palladium. I think it's going to go up like crazy, and it has historically done that. Now this is a chart that's from a NetDania, which is on a weekly basis, just going back the last couple of years. But if you go back to 2001, palladium actually was over $1,000 an ounce, and in inflationary dollars, that's more like $1,500 an ounce. It was over 4 times the price of gold. So, it probably could even do more than what I'm saying, but I'm trying to get a real reasonable ballpark figure out there, because fundamentally, palladium actually is a hell of a lot more rare than gold. And also in reality, like the case for silver is that most silver is used in industrial usage or in silverware or photography or whatever. If you add up all the different uses, there's not that much available for investment. In the case of palladium, well over 95% of it's used up every year. It's a way more higher percentage of it used up than silver, yet it's far more rare than gold. So I don't understand why the price is this low. Now, if you look over the last few years, it went from like $175, $200, like when it was, it went down to like I think below 170 in 2008, 2009. But now it's like 700. So hey, that's a hell of a jump, like 4 times, right? That's a hell of a jump. But that's nothing. That's nothing. It's going to go a hell of a lot more. And just to give you a little example, like last year, I think, well, the statistics on palladium are pretty tough to get. They are. If you're looking at where it comes from, like the figures I told you about, 40-something, 42% coming from Russia, 39% coming from South Africa, that's roughly about right. We had less than 9 million ounces produced in 2011, which was a record supply. Price went down though, which even though there was a record demand, which exceeded the supply, price went down due to dumping on the market of Russian stockpiles. This year, there's going to be over 9 million ounces. Just throwing some ballpark figures out there because I see too many conflicting reports, and I really can't display where I'm getting the information from anyway. But it's like it's not as easy to get as silver information. Palladium information is tougher to get any kind of really super accurate numbers. But let's say for 2012 they have 9,500,000 ounces available between recycling and production from mines. Well less than 5% of that is available for investing. Well less. Talking physical and ETFs. Both, right? So that means you got less than 500,000 ounces, and that's this number, 500,000 ounces that's available for investing. Figure $700 an ounce. That's only about $1/3 billion available, about a little over $330 million available for investing between both physical and ETFs. And that's assuming 5% of a large number, which is not even 5%. So I'm actually being very generous with this. So if you got one billionaire out there takes 1/3 of his money and puts it in palladium, there's nobody else can buy it. So I can't see this scenario being continuing. And I know a lot of people criticized about, hey, it's only used in cars. 63% of it's for auto catalysts. But like I pointed out, the hybrids, they're going to use 30% more palladium than a normal car. The hybrid cars, the ones that run on electric and gasoline, are going to use 30% more. Plus, there's all these new regulations coming out for off-road vehicles and off-road machinery and stuff like that are going to require catalysts. And there's a hell of a lot of tech coming out. Hydrogen, another one. I'm kind of repeating myself in some of this. If you saw some of my other videos, some people didn't though. Hydrogen, super clean fuel of the 21st century. People aren't going to be allowed to use this stuff though, because there is a conspiracy with the oil companies, no doubt. And what hydrogen, the unique properties of palladium are that it absorbs about 900 times its volume at room temperature of hydrogen. So it works as a hydrogen purifier. It works in hydrogen storage systems and also hydrogen production. So, you know, it's got a hell of a lot going for it, a hell of a lot. Now, I want to point out something else that's actually going to drive up all these metals, and that is, besides QE, the classic problem of war. War actually, well, let me put it this way. A lot of times when things start, materials start running out in the earth, like in other words, becoming short on oil, it's not like going to end tomorrow, but I mean, there is like a pressure being felt that by the population of the world, because as the population of the world increases, it puts more and more demand on resources, whether it just be copper for electrical infrastructure, that for the new growing middle class in Asia and stuff like that, or palladium, which is new growing middle class in Asia, which all wants to drive cars, or silver, which goes into much of electronics and things like that. And when you're putting pressure on these resources, usually it becomes a fight for these resources. A fight for these resources. Now, I remarked on one of my past videos, actually I pulled that one, it was about analysis of the movie Muhammad and 9/9 and all this kind of stuff. I actually pulled that video, but I'm going to mention it here very quickly because it looks like the war that I've been kind of thinking are going to be coming up at one point in time, are probably coming up real soon now. And not tomorrow, but I mean, it's not going to be years away this time. And this is going to be extremely bullish for the metals, including palladium. And, I'm not sure what the heck the military uses of palladium are, but I know that it's involved in a lot of different uses throughout industry, not just catalysts in cars and things like that. But it's going to create a much bigger demand on all the resources. And I did point out that they had this Illuminati countdown clock I was curious about that counted down to 9/9/2012. And, well, in my mind, I think it's a dead ringer. That is the corresponding to the release of the movie Muhammad, which is insulting, or it's considered insulting to Islamic people. They're getting mad at it. Now, we looked at what happened with the ambassador from the U.S., which he's from California actually, to Libya. He was killed, right? He was killed. And now, recently, we have another major attack on an installation in Afghanistan. Marines being killed and everything like that. And it's specifically being said it's because of the release of that movie. So, my contention is the powers that be want the war now. That's what I'm thinking. They're ready to move now. So, I don't know. It's like I don't want people freaking out about this kind of crap, but just keep your investments in line because things are going to start moving up a lot. War is extremely bullish for commodities, and QE is extremely bullish for commodities. Just watch these silver bloggers about, some of the stuff they say that, like it's going to not go straight up in a straight line and all this type of stuff like that. But what's probably going to exceed silver as an all-time best investment is going to be palladium. Palladium. And you're going to start seeing some serious moves in this metal probably this year, but it's going to take a few years before it exceeds the price of gold, which gold is going to be way the hell up there. Way the hell up there. So just want to give a heads up about this metal because I did before, but I think I'm the only one out there talking about palladium on YouTube. This is probably the only channel that talks about palladium more on a consistent basis. There's not a lot of available information on it, but the new twist that came up is basically two things: South Africa mining strikes and them vowing to shut down production of the platinum group metals, which includes palladium. And also, I think this war situation is going to come about because I think the release of the movie Muhammad is designed to do that. And number 3, we have open-ended QE, which is something that's never been done before. Basically, print money until everything improves, and if it doesn't improve, we're just going to print more money. And as you know, things do not work in a straight line or smoothly, but as this happens with all this money printing, it's like building up water behind a dam. It may all come rushing out at the very last minute, and maybe your silver will go to the roof, but long term, I think palladium is probably going to outdo every damn of the 4 precious metals. Palladium is going to do the best. This is my own observation. I know some people, everybody's got opinions, but let me put it this way. When I stick with my own opinions and my own convictions, and I don't let myself be too heavily influenced by other people, I realize many times I'm right. Just a lot of times I'm too fearful of sticking with some of my convictions, like as in the case of shorting silver longer than I should have shorted it longer. I missed out on some golden opportunities that way. And so I just want to point out, if you're going to be into buying some metals right now, if you already have your silver, you already have your gold, and you're thinking of adding more, just even get 1 or 2 ounces of palladium or whatever you got to do and go for there.